Okay, so as you can see, my plate is done and I'm done scratching it, I believe, and so I need to do a print. So I'm going to walk you through the process of doing a print. I'm going to leave my plate here. This is the inking table, but I first need to prepare my paper. So we're going to go over to where that is. All right, so this is going to be where we're going to prepare our paper. So we need to get our paper wet so it's nice and soft, and so whenever we print it, it will go into our recessed areas. You're going to need a piece of newsprint, and it's just going to be folded in half, and you can put your name on it somewhere, somehow. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my name on the paper and whatever print it is. So I put in Gen G Artist Proof, or AP for Artist Proof. Although technically this is not my artist proof. Your first print should always be AP, okay? All right, so I'm gonna take, oops, I had more than one. I'm gonna take this piece of paper and I'm gonna go outside. The reason why I wanna go outside is because I don't want to get the floor all soaking wet. So I'm gonna take and I'm going to spray my paper real good on all sides. Going to throw on, you know, it's going to want to argue, and that's okay. All right, so I'm going to take my wet paper, quickly come in, and I'm going to place it in my paper that already has my name on it. So it's just going to be camping out there while I'm doing my plate. All right, so we're going to go back to our plate now. So for the plate, I just have it on a piece of newspaper. You want to make sure your newspaper is clean. You can always grab a new piece of newspaper. Sometimes the ink gets on the underside of the plate, and that can make it a little annoying. Now these gloves I have used previously, so I can really only afford one pair of gloves per class period. So yes, you're gonna have to struggle with them like I'm doing now, and getting them on inside out, and that's okay. It should happen here. Okay, there we go. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I need to put ink on my plate. And to do that, I'm gonna take my squeegee, all right? And I'm going to get a little bit of ink. Now, we don't need tons of ink for this, okay? So that's just a little bit of ink. And if I need to get more, I will. But the more ink I put on, the more ink I have to take off is kind of the general rule for intaglio printing. So I don't wanna overdo it with ink. See, that was actually plenty of ink. And I actually have extra on my squeegee. I like to push the ink in different directions at the beginning just to make sure I get in all the little recessed areas, all those little scratches that I worked so hard to get. I want to make sure they pick up some ink. And once I do that, then I start scraping off the extra. And notice what I'm doing. I'm putting it back on that plate just to reserve some ink, because we're going to be doing several prints here, and so we can pick that ink up later as well. All right, so I have scraped off as much as I can with that squeegee. So now I'm going to go with just a piece of mat board, and I'm going to scrape off the extra. I'm going to just put that on the newspaper and do a next row. So what I'm trying to do here is get the ink from the surface off, and it's going to stay in all those scratches and recessed areas. All right, so it should look something like this whenever you're done with the mat board. So now I really need to start buffing. Now if you notice, I got all this ink down here, and it's really probably going to be a problem. It's going to get stuck to my newspaper when or my phone book pages when I start to buff. So I'm going to get a new piece of newsprint, or I could even fold it in half depending on how dirty my area is. I still do have some ink, so maybe a new piece of newspaper wouldn't hurt. All right, I'm going to bring a new piece of newspaper over and put it there. All right, next I'm going to get some phone book pages. These are nice, thin paper pages. They're excellent for buffing off your intaglio plate. I have a couple in my hand, and I kind of just squish it. And I am going to start just going in a circular motion on my plate. over and over again. And what you're going to notice is that ink starts to come off. And my image is starting to be seen, which is just so exciting. It's exciting to see it kind of come to life here. Now, whenever you first start buffing, it still has quite a bit of cloud. It doesn't look nice, crisp, and clear. So even though I got a lot of ink off already, I still need to keep buffing. I need to get that plexiglass or that piece of plastic really nice and clear. Now, the stuff underneath is always a little bit annoying because you can't exactly see if the ink is on the top or on the bottom. And one way I get around that is I'll pick it up and I'll kind of move it and let the light reflect off of it. And in areas where I haven't got the ink, the light will not reflect the same. And so then I'm like, okay, I guess I have to buff a little bit better there. So I had a mark there. The corners are a big thing. And I'm also going to go over my image again. Now, my gloves, notice how dirty my gloves are. They like to put fingerprints on the corners, so I have to make sure I get those real good. So just make sure you get it real good before we go to the printing press. I'm just checking it one more time, making sure everything that looks like it shouldn't be there is on the underside. All right. So first, my plate is dirty on the edges, so I'm going to keep my gloves on and I'm going to take my plate to the press. All right, so the press is in this closet and it should be all prepared for you. So in this area, there is some blue tape to help you place your plate in the proper spot. Sorry about that. All right, now we can go, move my camera a little bit. Now we can go and get our paper. Now, I don't want to touch my paper with these hands, so I'm going to carefully take off. I can take one glove off easily and kind of keep it so it's not turning inside out. But this guy, I'm going to have to do a little bit of inside out business, just because I don't want to get my hands all dirty while I'm touching my nice clean paper. All right, so here's my paper. Now, it should be nice and wobbly, but it shouldn't have any glistening water on it. And mine has quite a bit of glistening water. I don't know if you can see it. So I'm gonna put it near a dry spot on my newsprint. And I'm just gonna pat it, kind of rub that extra water off. So we want it to be wet and nice and loose, but we don't want visible water to be on the surface. So something like this looks pretty good. All right, so we're gonna take our paper and we're gonna go back to the press. So I'm gonna carefully place my paper on the press, and I'm trying to kind of center here the tape with the blue tape with my paper, and then making sure it's aligned to there. I'm also going to take a piece of this paper. This is just protective paper. It's going to protect our print, but it's also going to protect our press. Let me place that there. And I take these top parts and I put them down. So now I'm going to roll the wheel. Now notice right here, it says stop. Well, we need to stop when it gets to there. Don't go beyond that because that'll mess up the press, okay? All right, this is the big reveal. Let's see what happens. So I'm lifting up the paper, making that so that it stays, and then we can pull up our print, and then there it is. Ta-da! Oops, I did it upside down. The good thing I put that lightly in pencil, right? So it's not going to impact things too much. So this is actually two pieces of paper. My smaller paper is stuck to my bigger paper. I'm going to keep it like that until it dries. So I'm going to show you what to do with your print. Okay, we're going to go in this closet. And in this closet, I have hangers. And on hangers, I have clothespins. And so I can take a clothespin and put it on there. Here I have another one that I did earlier, and so it can dry. This one's starting to dry and it's already starting to separate. When it's completely separate or completely dry, we can separate those two papers safely without tearing anything. Okay? Now let's talk about what to do with your plate. So say it's the end of the class period and you have this plate. It is dirty, but we do not want to wash it. If you start scrubbing this thing, you're gonna, first of all, scratch your plastic. You're also gonna scrub off that precious burr that absorbs some of that ink. So we're gonna keep it dirty. I have a piece of newsprint over here. And this is where I'm going to hide it. It's just gonna be wrapped up in this piece of newsprint. And that's how we're going to take care of it. So this can be put into my portfolio for storage until the next class period when I am ready to print again. That's it. That's printing. So we're done printing for the day and it's time to clean up. We need to go over some cleanup processes. So if you did print, you are going to be part of the group effort of cleaning up your printing table. So I have ink and I have ink. I need to get this ink in here so we can save some of it. So I'm going to take the squeegee that's already dirty and I'm just going to scrape it into that. And that can be used next time. Get off as much as possible so I'm saving as much ink. And then I can put my lid back on. All right. So I currently have a few things that are dirty that need to be cleaned off. So these are going to be brought to the sink. All right, just like dirty dishes, we need to take care of our dirty dishes here like we do at home. Hopefully you take care of your dirty dishes at home. I do have some sponges. I have some sponges over here. I like to use the ones that have the little scrubbies. This has definitely been used for printmaking. Right away, you'll notice that it's already starting to come off. So this is water soluble, so it does come off. Just get all of the really wet ink off. Some of it's been dried. It's like there for years, but try to get as much ink off as possible. So I'm just scrubbing. The squeegee is going to be a little bit stained, and that's okay. So the squeegee is clean. So I'm going to put it over here in this area. And I need to do the same thing with my palette knives. Oh, my palette knife just broke. I might have to glue that back together. I think I pulled a little bit too hard. Clean palette knives can go back in the clean palette knife area. So palette knife bin is right here. So I'm going to put that there. I got another one that I need to do. So it's important that we do this as a group, that one person, the person that's at the sink taking care of the dirty stuff, the other person is maybe putting all, like throwing all the newspaper and all the stuff at the table away and then wiping down the table to make sure everything is clean and there's no ink left. Alright, so after this is clean, I'm going to rinse out my sponge because I don't want to leave a really, really oily sponge for the next person to pick up. So I'm going to keep squeezing it until it's not producing any black. I can throw that back in the sponge thing, and then I can just put this right back there to dry. And then I have some special soap that'll help get your hands nice and clean after cleaning everything up. Okay. All right, so that's the dirty dishes part of it. We also have the table part. All right, so I don't need this phone book anymore, so I'm just going to take and put it where the phone books are, which is in this cabinet. Now, some of my newspaper has not been touched. If multiple people are printing, that is not going to be the case. But anything that hasn't been touched can obviously be used next time. So I'm going to fold it and stack it. anything that has been used, like over here, I got a bunch of dirty stuff. Take this. This can just be balled up. And put in the trash. All right, and that is about it. We are pretty much clean.